Good morning, everyone. Good evening to those of you in Asia, and happy birthday to Wei Ting, our Chinese interpreter. Facebook tells me it's a birthday. It could also be fake birthdays that people put on Facebook, but I think this is a real one. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
So I see there's a question about the method of kind of on the physiological side, slowing down your breath and the benefits of that. Then there is the mind training side, right? So the question is about kind of a logistical question, so to say. Yes, I neglected to say, not necessary to say out loud, more like mentally. You know, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. So mentally, kind of in a relaxed way. The key is to just relax body and mind.
那有一个问题是，之前在星期六的时候，然后李博士就建议，就在我们持续的这个呼吸的时候，就是用6秒钟吸进，6秒钟呼出，然后在每一个这个过程里面，然后就会去持诵 Om Mani Padme Hum。然后这位同学他就觉得，如果当我在吸进这个空气的时候，我去制造这个声音似乎有点困难，然后他就问，那到底怎么可以做得到？然后李博士就回应补充说，其实并不需要，就是实际上就把声音发出来，比较多是在当我们在呼吸的时候，其实是在心里面去持诵。
So now on YouTube, for example, there are so many different recordings of Om Mani Padme Hum. So maybe do some research to search for one that you like the tune. It's not too busy, and the speed you can measure between 5.5 to 6 each recitation. Then you know, especially at the beginning, you can choose that and play it. So as you play, you sit down, and then you know, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So once you get the hang of it, right? And then you can use that on the basis of getting used to being aware of breath, and then after 6 for exhalation. You know, of course, the a stopwatch, you know, would trigger us to not relax, you know. So instead of using a stopwatch, you know, is it 5.5? Is it 5.5? I found that the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra chanted at a particular speed is very good at just very naturally. This is obviously recommended for those who have an affinity already with mantra recitation. But of course, sometimes mantra recitation gets into like mantra marathon, right? Fast, you know. There are other times, you know, when that kind of recitation is recommended, but not for this purpose.
李博士进一步的补充就是说，其实在这个YouTube 上面其实有非常多的这个视频是关于如何去持诵 Om Mani Padme Hum，然后大家可以去选择自己喜欢的那个调，然后可以选择自己喜欢的那个速度尽可能就是在5.5秒到6之间， 然后这个可以让我们的呼吸非常的平稳。所以当你选择了之后，然后你就可以播放那个视频，然后坐下来，缓缓的吸进，缓缓的呼出。然后当你已经熟悉了之后，你就可以用它作为你的这个练习的基础。当然，这一个就是如果我们特别是对一些已经很熟悉持咒的人来说，这个是会挺有帮助的。
In another context, yeah, I have talked about how the practice of chanting, and in this case, yes, chanting out loud. There also, it seems, right, that it's related to, it contributes to relaxation in the, and to relate it to physiologically what is going on. Now, current research on breath, scientific research finds that exhalation in particular is related to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is related to the rest and regroup and reproduce nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight and flight, the defensive part. For a healthy body and mind, both needs to be working and working in a balanced way. But our modern lifestyle seems to have created a situation where our sympathetic nervous system is always on. In a way, you know, when we don't have real tigers chasing us, our afflictive emotions recruit fake tigers, yeah, and mental emotional tigers that cause us always to be in a triggered state. So to compensate for that, you know, especially now, given our situation, then learning, using and appreciating the practice of chanting, whereby just the logistics or the physiological aspects of what happens when you're chanting is that you tend to take shorter breath, in-breath inhalation, and longer exhalation. Just the nature of keeping up with the chant. You breathe in fast, then breathe out slowly, 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 slowly. Breathe in fast, breathe out slowly, 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 slowly. This is not the optimal way to breathe, but this is, you know, a kind of intervention to balance the otherwise, you know, triggered sympathetic nervous system to kind of calm it down.
那在其他的情况下，就是李博士曾经也谈过关于这一个就是词诵，就是大声的诵经，然后诵出来，然后就是其实这对于我们怎么放松身心，从整个生理的状况来说是非常有帮助，就是可以看到这一个持咒或者是持诵诵经。 能够怎么样调整我们的整个生理的状况。然后就是研究发现说，这个呼出其实是能够跟我们的这一个副交感神经系统是有关系。副交感神经系统它最主要就是让我们放松，让我们可以重组、重新调整自己的身体。而另外一个交感神经则是跟我们的吸进有关系，然后它其实是跟我们一般就是备战的状态有关系。那这一个健康的身体基本上是需要两者都非常的平衡，只是我们现在的生活方式让我们就是我们的交感神经系统常常都处于一个被启动的状况，就非常的活跃的状况。所以透过练习怎么去持咒，怎么去诵经，我们就是让我们的呼吸很快的吸进，然后呼出的时候缓缓的呼出，然后吸进很快，然后缓缓的呼出，这样的一种方式可以让我们帮助我们去平衡我们的这一个交感神经，让它不会那么的活跃。
And then we, like whether chanting Om Mani Padme Hum or these longer chants, you have to bring, you have to do the chants, with an appreciation of what you're chanting. So in particular, joy arises. Because these are special words, these are meaningful words. So joy, so you need to kind of deliberately encourage joy, joyful. Joy is kind of like here, the next related is what they call happiness, joy and happiness. So when joy, happiness are brought together or discussed together, joy is a more kind of excited level, joyful. Then the happiness is more like the gladdening of the heart. There is when the more active, joyful part is settling down, but in a more stable way. And then that is called happiness, sukha. So piti in Sanskrit, Pali, is joyful. Then joyful joined with slowly, kind of stabilizing into the gladdening of the heart. So these qualities also need to be deliberately brought into. And so, so we chant Om Mani Padme Hum, we know the meaning, we appreciate the meaning, so that should give rise to joy. Or the Bodhicitta vow, like we do at the beginning, or the sevenfold puja, all of that, we do with understanding, with clear comprehension, with attentiveness. So then we should bring joy into this. So these are all part and parcel of what we call the 84,000 dharmas. So that when we practice this, again, I want to emphasize, don't fall into the picking and choosing. Don't feel like, do I have to choose this? Do I have to choose that? There's overemphasis on choosing this over that. Back when we're in a village, there are not so many choices. So it's easier to choose. Once you have choose one, there's nothing else, But now we're in a global village with the internet. And if you get into the mentality of, I'm going to choose this, and from now on, I'm going to content with just this, it's not going to last. But rather, if you have a comprehensive understanding, then our one single practice is the practice of actualizing the two bodhicittas. Then, whatever we happen to be doing, in terms of formal practice, that is the supreme method. That is the supreme method.
那我们在持诵的时候，就是无论是 Om Mani Padme Hum 或者是更长的一些就是经文或者是咒语，我们应该要感受到这个愉悦能够升起。就当我们能够了解这个 Om Mani Padme Hum 的意思，或者是经文的意思的时候，我们在这一个理解上面，然后升起这个愉悦的感觉。我们是有意的去鼓励这样的一种愉悦的感觉升起的。为什么？因为愉悦其实和快乐是有关联的。愉悦是比较属于一个比较激烈或者是比较活跃的一个层面，然后快乐则是我们心的一种明亮。然后从巴利语或者是这个梵语来说，那个 happiness 或者是快乐，它就是 sukha。但是愉悦它是 piti 这一个它是从一个比较活跃比较激烈的一个状况，然后慢慢沉淀下来，然后就结合我们心的这一种明亮。所以我们无论是在做任何的事情，在做任何的修持，我们去了解它的概念，然后我们就去持咒，或者是我们在做这个七支供养，以这样的建立在这个理解和清楚的基础上，我们去做的话，这一切所有的修持，其实它都是84000种法门之一。然后千万不要就是轻易的就落入我要去选择，或者是我要去挑选哪一个才是最理想的。因为如果当我们这么去做的时候，其实我们设立了这样的一种思维模式，我们就会很容易就迷失在这一个整个各式各样的修行法门当中。只要我们能够了解，只要我们有一个完整的了解，然后以这样的了解是为了要去圆满去成就菩提心的话，其实任何一种方式它都是最殊胜最理想的。
To enhance our understanding of this point, we can borrow the words from the third patriarch of the Chan Zen tradition in East Asia. So this third patriarch, a somewhat shadowy figure, but there is one teaching, one song that is associated with him. And in this song, it says, the opening lines, it says, the great way, the great path is without difficulties, except for those who pick and choose.
为了让我们更深入的了解这个概念，刚刚提到的这个不要去随意选择的概念，然后这边引了禅宗的就是三祖，他曾经说过这样的一句话，然后他就说，就是这个大道其实是没有任何的困难，除了就是我们去挑选，除非我们去挑选的话。
So for those who are stuck in the habit of picking and choosing, the great way becomes too great because too many possibilities.
对于那一些就是卡在不断的挑选的人当中，他们这一个大道就会显得更加的
Rather than appreciating that, what the great way offers is that now no need to pick and choose anymore. Whatever is in front of you, that is what you cultivate with skill.
然后实际上我们应该要去练习的就是我们怎么去欣赏这个大道，然后不去随意的挑选任何在眼前的，就是很善巧的去运用这样的一种法门，然后来帮助我们圆满整个大道。
So the Buddha offers so many of these very skillful, subtle points of training, and they're all part and parcel of this great way. So in Shantideva, we already looked at, that section where Shantideva says, that the Buddha offers, so many gentle methods. Gentle here also can be understood as very subtle, not necessarily like obvious in your face how it works. That's because Buddha really understands, our kind of psychology. If he elaborates too much on the technical details, I feel we have a tendency, especially I think modern people, because our brains have become so sophisticated, our analysis, our, looking at it this way, that way, this way, that way. Then, given too many details, we get lost in the details. And then we think, if I know all the details, then I have mastered it. But that's not how we master. That's not how we develop the path.
其实佛陀非常的善巧，然后他常常提供非常多微细的这一些修持的扼要的点。然后吉天菩萨也提到说，其实佛陀提供了非常多非常温和的方式，非常的细腻，非常的微妙。但是它不是就是非常显著的，因为佛陀非常了解我们的心理状态，他知道如果他就是形容的非常的仔细的话，特别是我们现在的人，就我们的脑袋已经变得非常的复杂，所以当我们就是得到非常多细节的时候，我们就会迷失在细节当中。我们以为我们掌握了所有的细节，实际上这不是真正修道的方式。
Yes, Judy. Let's see what's going on.
I can unmute now.
Yeah, you should be able to. Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
It's just a comment. I think this is such a simple but very profound idea of making all practices essentially head to the same point, because I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do it right. Mm-hmm. And right meant the right practice or the right this, and this sort of frees me and us all, I think, to just do it.
Yes.
Do something, but do it with the idea of
yes.
Bodhicharyavatara, and I think that's very freeing.
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't have to worry about doing it right. I just have to worry about doing it.
Exactly. We get so distracted, by choosing So go ahead and translate Judy's. Yeah.
那刚刚有一个就评论，就是说他的同学认为，其实这个是非常非常简单，但是非常高妙的一个想法，就是把所有的一切的这一些修持方式，都是以一个核心的概念为基础，那就是我们为了圆满，也就是两种菩提而做。那这样的一种理解到底有怎么样的一个帮助？其实就是因为他常常会觉得，若不同样的一种修持，然后常常需要花了很多的时间要去把它做对。那实际上，如果只要有这样的一种概念，所有的方式其实都可以导我们在这个修道上，只要我们去做，然后以培养菩提心为我们的动机，它实际上是可以非常的自由。然后李博士说，确实我们常常就是迷失在这个不断的选择当中。
So Kyopa Jigtensamgun's Vajra statement that says, the 84,000 dharmas, they constitute a single path to awakening. So that Vajra statement is very helpful.
然后就是护主吉贤颂公，就是在他的这个功绩里面就提到说，所有包含4000种法门，其实他就成就贡献这一个觉悟之道，觉悟的唯一之道。
Also in the great Kadampa master Geshe Chekawa's 7-point lojo, in the section where he says, if you want to know, how well your mind training is going, he says one of the signs of that is, one of the indicators of that is when you begin to understand that all practices converge onto a single point. And that single point is the actualization of the two bodhicittas. He says, when you see that, no matter what practice you do, what teaching you take, all of that, they are all starting to converge onto a single point. It's a single point of overcoming self-grasping, actualizing two bodhicittas. He says, then you're making good progress now.
他就是另外一位噶当巴的就是圣者给谁去看我，在他的这一个修心7义里面，就曾经提到说，如果我们想要知道我们的修行到底有多好的话，我们就看看我们能不能够把所有的一切修持，看见所有的一切修持其实都融汇在一个核心上，这个核心那就是去圆满菩提心，然后去除这个我执。如果我们看得到这一点，我们看到所有万法，所有一切的修持其实都结合在这一点上面的话，那就表示我们的修行是可行的。
More to add, Judy? Your hand is still up. Oh, okay. Just checking. Tam jege so jebe ma nang ka dang nyam pe sen chen tam je dewa dan den dung yao dang zhe ne du la na me pa yang da para so be jan ju rin po je to para ja na la dang wa je be dra no par je be ge tar pa dan tam je ge be bar du jo pra je ba Tam chegi so jepe manang kadang nyampe senche tam che dewa dan den dunya dan dre nirdu lana me paya dabra sobe chanju rinpo je tobar ja dala dangwa jebe ja nobar jebe ge Tarbada tamje gembe bardu chopra jeba tam chege so jebe manang kadan nyambe senchen tamje deva dan den dunya dandre nerdu lana me payan tabra sobe chanchu rinpo je tombra du sama geki bardu longa yesum kewala go maje bardu longa yesum kewala go du direne songte ne ma san ta samye bardu longa yesum kewala go sanje chodan soche chodam la Chanchu bardu tani kyabzu je dagi jinsu gebe sonanki Drola penchir sanje drubra shu sanje jodan sogi chonam la Chanchu bardu tani kyabzu je dagi jinsu gebe sonanki Drala penchir sanje drubra shu sanje chodan sogi chonam la chanchu bardu dani gyabzu je dagi jinsu gebe sonanki Drala penchir sanje drubra shu kada Nyampe senchen tamche dewa dan dewe gyundan dambra gyurji dunya da dunya gi gyudan drewa gyurji dunya mepe dewa dame drewa gyurji nering chadan nidan drewe tangyang la nebra gyurji manang kadan nyampe senchen tamche dewa dan Dewe gyundan tempra gyurji dunya dang dunya gi gyudang drewa gyurji dunya mepe dewa dhame drewa gyurji Niring chadang nidang drewa tangyang la nebra gyurji manang kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dham Dewe gyundan tempra gyurji dunya dang dunya gi gyudang drewa gyurji dunya mepe dewa dhame drewa gyurji niring chadang nidang drewa tangyang la nebra gyurji. In all the worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times before each of you lions among humans. I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind by the power of this aspiration to noble deeds. All conquerors appear vividly in my mind with as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands. I prostrate to all you conquerors in each atom, but there's numberless as atoms all in the midst of the airs of the Buddhas. Thus I conceive of this Dharma to as completely filled with you conquerors in this way. With infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies, I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors and praise all of you gone to bliss with the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols, finest lamps and superior incense I offer to you conquerors with excellent garments and best press fragrances and sandalwood powder heap high as Mount Meru. All wondrous offerings perfectly arranged, I offer to you, conquerors, these vast and unequal offerings to each and every one of you, conquerors, with the power of conviction and noble deeds. I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors all the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance. I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions and the heirs of the Buddha's solitary realizers here is still in training and beyond, and all wandering beings, you who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have uninterruptedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi. All you who are my protectors, please turn the unexcelled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana, please remain for as many eons as there are atoms in the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings, whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, fog, continent, sun, and moon, I visualize as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To the gurus who possess the 3 kayas, I offer the outer, inner, secret, and thusness offerings with my body, wealth, and all phenomenal existence. Please grant the unsurpassed supreme attainment, whatever slight virtue I may have gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching. I now dedicate it to complete Bodhi. Om Guru Deva Dhaki Nirana Mandala Pratija Soha. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. Doji Janjan Dele Naroda Mami Dapo Padoji Dengun Kapinzun Den Zawela Mesha Sajula Mayidam Chokyong Sowa Depths of Daji Jinjilo Kia Drinki Domesam Lenge Trabe Donsung Yon Lagia Zomega Wadoji Chang Bar Jidin Kumpa Shabla Dudu Tatu Sanke Kyole Me Jinjilo Shi Tujeje Nenge Mumbasa Negan Sento De Dudu Prajenjilo Hong Wajin Yojena Zansa Bemagi Satumbola Yasajuki Pema June Shishida Gudu Kandu Mapungura Gagin Seda, the Gagin Jilo Jesus of Guru Pema Sede Ho in Jiki Igin Podane, Dosun Sanje, Gunjingo Wani, Ransin Jogun, Gonsun Tonseba, Zawela Me Shavla Sowa. So in this chapter on virya, on diligence, with joy described as one of the qualities of this kind of virya. So here we have reached verse 31. We have covered verse 31. So verse 32, stanza 32, begins to elaborate on these basically 4 factors that are conducive to virya, to the arising of this quality and the strengthening of this quality of virya.
我们上个星期已经完成了第31季，然后在这一章这个精进章里面，我们可以看到愉悦这个特质，其实是 virya， 也就是精进的一个非常重要的功德。然后在这一边32季，它会谈进一步的去就是形容或补充，那4个会有助于升起精进的特质。精进的元素。
So 32 says, therefore leaving everything that is adverse to it, I'll labor to increase my diligence through aspiration and self-confidence, relinquishment and joy, by strength of earnest application and exertion of control.
第32季32跟英文的稍微有一些出入。那在我们的这个版本里面是31季的后半句，信乐心坚毅，放舍心欢喜，为苦思利益能生信乐力。
Yeah, so 32 points to material that we have already covered in this chapter, points back to material that we already covered in this chapter, and also points forward to what will be discussed next. So what has been covered so far is those things that are adverse to virya, and specifically, those 3 types of laziness. They are adverse. They stand in the way of virya arising and becoming strong. So we have to make an effort to stop getting caught up in those 3 types of laziness as described in the verses that we have covered so far.
那在这一边，他就会提到，就是我们过去已经谈过了。在这一章已经谈过的一些内容，然后这一季也进一步的开展接下来我们要谈的内容。那过去我们已经谈过的内容是什么呢？就是什么东西是精进的阻碍，那就是那3种懈怠。那这3种懈怠，我们是需要尽一切的努力去避免自己困在其中。
Sometimes we want to say, like, hey, so how do I stop them? Those 3 types of laziness. Well, it's not easy, of course, but at the very least, you have to see their faults and you have to make a resolve and say, I'm going to stop. The first kind of laziness, the laziness of like not wanting to do anything, to kind of just waste away, our days and weeks and months and lifetime. You just have to start by saying, no, I stop, like get up already.
就是你可能会觉得，这个很困难，我怎么可以就是断除这一个懈怠呢？当然不容易，但是至少我们要看到他们的过患，然后我们自己要下出这样的一个决心，我们要去断除它。然后这一个懈怠，它所以特别是第一种懈怠，我就是不想去做任何的事情，纯粹就是把我们的生命、我们的日子，然后就这样荒废掉。然后我们心里面就有这样的一个念头，我说我要去停止它。
The second type of laziness, which is the laziness of, I want to, I just want to sleep. I just want to eat. I just want to watch Netflix. I just want to, sit around and gossip about people and, so all these kind of distractions. that I would rather do. Again, we have to see their faults and make a determination. No, I'm going to stop. Or I'm not going to spend so much, at least start with, I'm not going to do so much of it. Then eventually, as you begin to stop doing so much of it, you see the attractiveness of that. Then you develop greater and greater capacity to just not waste away time like that.
第二种懈怠则是，就是我想要做一切就没有什么太有价值的东西，就包括就是吃饭、睡觉、看电视，然后就不断的跟身边的人就哈拉哈拉，然后这一切的浪费时间的干扰。那我们同样的，我们要看到他们的过患，然后也是一样下一个决心。我一定要停止这样的一种习惯。那至少如果不能够完全停止的话，那我减轻。所以当我们就是尽可能去做到这一点，我们逐渐减轻这一些习惯它对我们所造成的一个影响，我们也慢慢的看到他们其实并没有那么的具有吸引力，我们也慢慢的建立了能力可以去拒绝他们的诱惑。
The third type of laziness, feeling discouraged, feeling defeated, even before we start. Also, we say, no, I'm going to stop that. I recognize that that's just part of the Martha Stewart designing prison cell sneakiness. And say, no, I fire you, I don't need you. You're a bad coach, Instead of encouraging me to jailbreak, just say, oh no, you can't do it, it's impossible to jailbreak, just be content with, redecorating your prison cell, No, we have to say no to it. So leaving those that are adverse, those factors, those opposites that are adverse to diligence. Now I will labor, I will put effort into increasing diligence through these four things. Aspiration, and this time it's called, the second one is called self-confidence. In verse 31, it is called steadfastness, remaining determined, and here is expressed as self-confidence. Then the third is relinquishment, letting go, and the fourth is joy, as a factor that has to be deliberately cultivated. So these are the four factors. So the remainder of this chapter on diligence is going to take us through these four factors.
第三种懈怠人就是感觉到非常的沮丧，或是感觉到非常的挫败，然后不想去，就觉得自己不行，什么事情都不行。所以我们同样的就是看到他的过患，我们要停止这样的去洗脑自己，然后我们也不要就是说，就是去我们的心有非常多的这种非常的隐秘的成分，然后就与其鼓励我们不断的就是可以去摆脱轮回的这个束缚，但是其实就不断用各式各样的方式，就是不断的说服我们好好的待在轮回当中，只要重新的把这个轮回的这一个监狱可以就是设计的更美好更理想一点就好了，不要我们就是尽一切的可能我们都要努力的去修导。所以在这一边前面这一个部分我们已经谈过的地方，就是我们已经了解了所有就是阻碍我们去培养这个 virya 或者是精进的特质。接下来的内容则是我们要怎么样进一步的去就付出更多的努力去增长这个精进。那这边就提到4个特质，接下来这整章 整章的内容，剩下的整章的内容其实都不断的在谈论这4个助缘。那这4个助缘是什么？第一个是信要心，然后坚毅、放舍心，还有欢喜，所以这4个。
So let's read now the next section, the section on aspiration. Khenpo Kumbel identifies verses 33 to 46 as that section where Shantideva will explain the factor of aspiration. The boundless evils of myself and others, I must bring them all to nothing. Even though a single of these ills may take unnumbered ages to exhaust. And if I find within myself no sign that faults are even starting to be cleansed, why does my heart not burst asunder, destined as I am for boundless pain? Good qualities for my and others' sake, though they may be many, I must now accomplish, even though for each of them I must endeavor for unnumbered ages. Acquaintance I have never gained with even part of such great qualities. It is indeed amazing that I render meaningless this life that somehow I have gained. Offerings to the Buddhas I have never made, no feasts were ever held through my donations. No works have been accomplished for the teachings. The wishes of the poor I left unsatisfied. I have not saved the frightened from their fear. The wretched I have not consoled. My mother's pain, her womb's discomfort, these alone are my accomplishments. My failure to aspire to Dharma now and in the past has brought me to my present dereliction. Who therefore would spurn such aspiration? Aspiration, so the sage asserted, is the root of every kind of virtue. Aspiration's root, in turn, is constant meditation on the fruits of action. The body's pains, anxieties of mind, and all our fears of various kinds, to be deprived of what we want, such is the harvest of our sinful deeds. But if my acts are good, sincerely intended, then no matter where I turn my steps, the merit gain will honor me with its resulting benefits. But if through seeking happiness my deeds are wrong, no matter where I turn my steps, the knives of misery will cut me down, the wage and retribution of a sinful life. Through virtue, I will rest within the cool heart of a fragrance-spreading lotus, with splendor nurtured by the sweet words of the conqueror. Then from the lotus opened in the sage's light, in supreme form I will arise, to dwell the blissful Buddha's air in presence of victorious ones. Or else, as wages of my many sins, my skin completely flayed, I shall be utterly brought low by creatures of the Lord of Death, who on my body pour a liquid bronze all melted in the dreadful blaze, and pierced by burning swords and knives, my flesh dismembered in 100 parts will fall upon the white hot iron ground. Therefore I will aspire and tend to virtue, and steep myself in it with great devotion. And with the method stated in the Vajradwaja, I will train in confident assurance. So these are the verses for that section. So first of all, I think the thing we can begin here, it says, is on verse 40. Aspiration, so the Buddha has taught, is the root of every kind of virtue. So of course here aspiration is a specific kind of aspiration, which is aspiration towards virtue. So it says like the fruits of virtue, the results of virtue, where do they come from? They come from first making determination. You can say aspiration is determination, making the determination, making the aspiration to accomplish this virtue. So then he says, then what is the root? What gives rise to aspiration? It's constant meditation. Here, it doesn't have to mean formal meditation, where you sit down, fold your legs, straighten your back. It doesn't mean that. It means always remembering, always contemplating, always considering the fruits of our actions, meaning to remember the principle of karma. Unskillful actions ripen as undesirable experiences. Skillful actions ripen as desirable experiences. What do we want? We want pleasant experiences. We don't want unpleasant experiences. So, given that, then actions become really important. So that kind of understanding, that kind of remembering, and not forgetting that, he says, that will then make us aspire to virtuous, skillful actions. And so that, he says, is the root of aspiration.
然后我们在这一段里面，我们从第40偈开始来谈。那第40偈就是说，佛说一切善，根本为信乐，信乐本则为恒思业因果。然后在这一边，其实就是说，我们要去下这样的一个决心，然后这个信乐就是我们要发这个愿去圆满一切的功德。那到底这一个它的根本是什么呢？就是我们不断的去思维，我们一切的行为背后的结果。也就是说，我们要去思维业果的法则，就是了解到，如果任何不善巧的行为，它只会带来不善，就是苦果；然后任何善巧的行为就会带来，所以引发就是让我们愉悦的经验。那到底我们想要什么呢？我们如果要快乐的话，我们就要去进行这个善巧的行为。所以从这样的一个角度来看的话，其实我们的行为就非常的重要。只要我们不忘记这一点，我们不断的去发愿、去圆满、去成就这一切善巧的行为，这个就是这边所提到的信乐。
So to help us see the faults and liabilities of unskillful actions of negative karma, and the faults and liabilities of not taking advantage of creating positive, virtuous, skillful karma, Shantideva then, verse 33, starting there, he says, the boundless evils of both myself and others, I must bring them all to nothing. That means I have to end them. Even though a single of these ills may take unnumbered ages to exhaust. So understanding how negative causes, unskillful actions bring about so much suffering, boundless as they are, those of myself, those of others, I will bring them to an end. Now here, footnote, of course, you cannot, in the end, force someone to not create negative karma. Here is a poetic way of saying, how do I bring others' evil to an end? By myself becoming Buddha, because that offers the greatest chances of being helpful to others, of being truly helpful to others, of being truly useful to others, is when we are Buddhists. So for that purpose, I will bring these negative actions to an end. Even if a single of these might take innumerable ages to complete, I will do it. So it needs, so this is the aspiration part.
然后现在我们看第33偈，33偈就是说发愿欲尽除自他诸过失，然尽一一过，须修一劫海。然后就是我们去发这样的一个愿，因为我们建立在一个了解到，就是任何不善巧的行为，其实它会带来多么大的痛苦。然后我们发愿想要就是终止它，结束它。当然，我们必须要了解到说，我们不能够就是去逼其他人不要去造恶，因为我们根本没有办法。那到底我们怎么可以就是能够去尽除自他诸过失呢？唯一的方式就是我们自己成佛，然后我们自己成佛，我们才能够真正对众生有帮助，真正能够帮助到众生，给予他最恰当的一个利益。所以以这样的一个愿，所以去发我要去终止一切的恶或者是负面的行为，哪怕这样的一个愿，哪怕去这么做，就是会需要用一劫海那么长的时间，我也在所不惜。
And in 34, yeah, he is showing us kind of sometimes, you need to disappointment or embarrassment as a way to keep us diligent. So he says, and if I find within myself no sign that these faults are starting to be cleansed, oh, how can I not be sad over this situation? Here he is not saying, you should become defeatist, right? Because that's a fault. Don't let it go to the extent of like, oh, poor me, I cannot do it, and then give up. But rather, when necessary, you also need to not be so complacent and say, oh, today was spent completely without weakening these ills. Oh, shameful. So sometimes we have to do that, but not to the point of like, oh, I'm hopeless. I cannot accomplish this. So it's balanced.
那在第34偈进一步的吉天菩萨是用另外一个心理战术，然后就是去调侃我们。那如果万一我们发现我们没有办法，根本就是在这个清除这个罪障、清除恶业上面没有任何的迹象，那怎么办呢？那我们那个时候就会自我调侃，然后说哦，就是今天我竟然就是没有办法的好好的就是维持一个精进的状态，然后那么的懈怠，我应该要感到非常的惭愧。有些时候其实我们确实需要用一些这样的手段来鞭策自己，但是不至于到另外一个极端，就觉得哦没有办法，我就是完全没救了。那样的方式就是不理想的。
33 and 34 is about unskillful actions and how determined one should be, how one should aspire, no matter how long it takes to even get rid of one. We should not give up, and we should not become complacent. 35, 36 is the other side of this, which is now thinking of the virtues, the good qualities that we can cultivate, that we can develop. No matter how hard the aspiration is, no matter how long it takes, I will endeavor. I will keep at this. And so right now, like also to reflect, to not be satisfied with the good qualities that you think you have, and say, but now I have so little. And instead, I meaninglessly waste away the opportunity that I have. Sometimes this is about wallowing in sadness also. Thinking, oh, samsara is so terrible. I hate this place. I want to leave. People are having so much suffering. And we get distracted. But instead, like, oh, wow, this is another opportunity. This is the day that I can grow my qualities and diminish my faults. So 35, 36 emphasizes the qualities part, the skillful actions part. 33, 34, the unskillful, the bad qualities that needs to be given up.
第34季主要着重在这一些就是恶业上面，就我们应该要怎么样非常坚定的去对峙它，然后我们不应该就放弃，我们也不要就是轻易的就感到自满。而接下来的这个35、36季则是着重在这个我们可以去培养的一些好的特质，就无论是多么的难、多么的努力，或者是需要多长的时间，我依然坚定的要去圆满这一个愿。然后现在我们可能已经累积了一定的功德，但是我们不要就是以此满足。然后有时候我们可能会在这个修行的过程中不小心就陷入这种沮丧，就看到哦，世间的人真是好苦，然后其实我们这样会轻易的被转移了注意力，反而我们应该要调整过来，正面的去看待，其实这个我们现在是拥有这个很难得的机会，有这样的一个机会让我可以好好的去对峙我的这一些恶业，可以好好的去圆满我的功德，那是多么的美好，所以好好的正面的去看待这样的机会。
37 and 38, the first 6 lines of this describes things that are good to do, but Shantideva, kind of to exaggerate, he says, but I have not done any of them. He says, but there is a list of, practical and good things that we could do. But because we become discouraged, or because, we don't make strong aspirations. We don't know how to make aspirations. So then we waste away. Whether waste away because we think, oh, there's all these other fun things that I should do, that I want to do. Or we waste away because we think, oh, no, I don't have energy, I don't want to do, right? All those types of laziness. And so here it says, offerings to the Buddhas. There, we should do that. The giving of feasts here means like to offer to the spiritual community feasts, make food offerings. No works have I accomplished for the teachings, meaning I have not studied them, I have not shared them, I have not promoted them. So these are things that we should do to promote the study, to contribute to the growth of the Dharma, and fulfill the wishes of the poor. Again, we have not done that, he says. That we should do. Save those who are frightened from their fear. Console those who are wretched. So 6 things here are explicitly mentioned as things that we can do, but we don't.
那接下来37偈前面38偈就是前面的6句，那基本上是吉天菩萨陈述这6种都是非常好的善行，但是我们都还没做，然后都是非常实际的，只是我们目前还没有就是尽可能的掌握任何的机会去进行这样的善行。然后就千万不要轻易的把这样的一个机会白白的浪费掉。那这6种不同的善行是什么？就是无息未成供佛，所以我们要去供养，就是诸佛菩萨。然后我们要去施喜宴乐，就是去供养，基本上就是去供养僧团，然后去供养僧团。然后第3个则是去依教行，然后就是去推广佛法，然后让佛法可以增长，帮助到其他的人。然后第4个则是去满贫者的愿，可以去帮助到贫者。第5个则是去让那些感到恐怖的人能够得到安慰。然后最后一个就是去给予那些痛苦的人快乐。这些都是值得我们去做，虽然我们现在还没做，我们要尽量争取机会去进行。
And so then he says, at the end of verse 38, he says, but instead, all I have done is to just torture my mother. When in the womb, causing her so much pain and discomfort. And then when after born, causing her so much worry. That's about all I have done, he says.
接下来的那2句就是说，那我刚刚所罗列的6种都还没做，那我做的是什么呢？就是去虐待我的母亲，就是在她的子宫中的时候就去虐待她，然后当我生出来之后就让我的母亲担心，所以我唯一做的就是这2者而已。
So then 39, he says, so why this situation now is because I have failed to make aspiration towards the Dharma. Towards the Dharma here means, aspiration towards waking up to what is. Dharma, of course, refers to the teachings of the Buddha. But even the teachings of the Buddha, they are based on and pointing us towards seeing things as they are, waking up from our confusions. So the ultimate aspiration that we're making is an aspiration to waking up for the benefit of others, for the benefit of all beings, and that is, again, the 2 bodhicittas. Make aspirations to awaken the 2 bodhicittas, to accomplish the 2 bodhicittas. Then there are more specific aspirations that we make that is geared towards this basic aspiration is the aspiration towards the Dharma, the aspiration towards awakening the 2 bodhicittas.
然后接下来这个39偈就会进一步的陈述说，那为什么我们现在依然是这样的一个状态？为什么我们处在这样的一个状态呢？那是因为我们没有办法去圆满我们的这一个信乐，我们的这一个誓愿。然后我们这个誓愿就是我们发愿要能够去觉醒，我们发愿要能够证得法。然后这一个佛陀的教法其实都是就是指向帮助我们引导我们能够去看见实相，看见一切现象皆是就是它的真实面貌。然后这样的一个愿望，我们就是要去发这样的一个愿望，为了一切众生的利益而要去觉醒。 其实再一次的就是，其实在谈的就是去圆满两种菩提心，然后更当我们在谈到就是圆满两种菩提心的时候，其实它最主要就是这一个是最特别的一个愿，其实就是能够去发愿，能够觉醒，为了一切众生而觉醒。这是39偈的内容。
So now let's take a short break.
我们先休息一会儿。
So now, so verse 40, we've looked at, so where it says how, why aspiration is really important. And so basically aspiration is that quality, that kind of mental quality that keeps us focused towards the Dharma, that keeps steering us towards the Dharma. And so we need to make aspirations because it will keep us focus on achieving this goal.
这第40季我们已经就讨论过了，就是在这一边提到的，就是我们要去发愿，这个信乐就是发愿，我们要去发愿。为什么它那么重要？因为它能够让我们就是专注在佛法上，就是让我们发愿，以便能够成就这个无上的菩提，所以这个愿非常的重要。
41. The body's pains, the anxieties of mind. These are the two, mainly our body and mind. The trouble that comes from it is basically either body pains or anxieties of mind, right? So that just summarizes everything. It says the body's pains and the anxieties of the mind. Yeah, they are all the result of our negative actions, our unskillful actions.
那在这个41季就进一步的陈述，我们最主要就是面临的这身心的状况呢，就是身体痛，或者是我们的心感到不安。那这两大类其实就已经涵盖了我们所有整个身心的一些状况。那它是怎么来的？它是因为我们的恶业而来的，和恶业的结果。
Increasingly, right, bodily pains have been minimized by basically, modern technology, medical technology. So bodily pains, have been minimized compared to 50 years ago, 500 years ago, for sure. We have, absolute evidence that people are living longer. Childbirth is nowhere close to how dangerous it was before. All of that. So there's been great progress to make bodily pains lesser and lesser. But guess what? The other side has been shooting up and up. Anxieties of mind. So the results of our negative karma has to come out one way or the other of mind. Medical technology is of bodily pains. Guess what? It's going to come. Manifest as anxieties of mind of all sorts. So all our fears of various kinds, to be deprived of what we want, these are all about anxieties of mind. Fear of not getting what we want. Fear of losing what we have. All these are anxieties of mind, various forms. Become more and more and more and more. The slightest thing not going our way will set us off. Even people who meditate a lot, supposedly, probably doing very tight kind of meditation. The more they meditate, the more easily they get annoyed. So here, it says all of these, they are the result of unskillful actions, unskillful causes that we create.
那现在很明显的就是说，就是我们的身体的痛， 其实已经非常大量的就是被减轻。那因为现今的科技的发达，然后就医疗的这个进步，然后相对于过去的50年或者是500年前，那确实有非常非常大的进步，也有非常明显的一个证据，就证明人类越活越长命。然后现在的生孩子也不像过去那么样的危险，但是另外一面，也就是关于心理层面的这样的一些状况，却不断的攀升，特别就是这个心不安的这样的一种状况。那这一切其实都是来源于我们负面的行为。然后我们负面的行为，当我们造作了负面的行为，然后如果它不在身体的这个层面展现的话，那它就会在心的这个层面展现，所以就会展现为各式各样的一种心理状态。然后我们就会去担心我们得不到我们想要的，我们担心我们自己已经掌握的东西会失去，然后我们就是不断的有非常多的忧虑。然后在这边其实就一个玩笑话，就是说一般上如果有修行的人，然后有进行禅修的人，可能就是可以比较自在比较安定，但是事实上也有非常多可能就是做比较专注的那样的一种禅修，他反而更容易的就是会就被激怒。然后所以我们可以看到这一切其实都是来源于我们所造作的不善巧的因，我们所造作的不善巧的这一个行为而来的。
42, conversely, if my acts are good, meaning if my actions are skillful, if I create virtue, sincerely intended, then no matter where I turn my steps, the merit that comes from that, the positive results that come from that will honor me with its resulting benefits, no matter where I go. Now, here, right, it's not talking about this kind of calculated, like, oh, if I do this, I get this. If I do that, I get that. It's not to encourage this kind of mind. It is to say, if you infuse your mind, your heart with only creating virtue, you'll be fine. Even the Buddha came to him, some ran him physically or to harm his reputation. But he was not disturbed. So this is the more important point for verse 42. This is not like, if you, like the equivalent of like, if you worship God, then everything will be fine. No more problems, this attitude. If you worship the right God, and so you cannot substitute that, by simply like, oh, if you did everything right, then life will be fine, will be wonderful. Everything you want, you will get. No, it's not saying that. It's saying when your mind is suffused with skillful actions, virtue, well-intentioned, pure motivation, which is bodhicitta, then no matter where you go, with or without problems, it doesn't matter. You will be honored by your merit.
42偈，42偈是由行所思善，无论自何处，福报皆现前，共以善果德。所以就是说，只要我们的行为是善的，无论我们去到什么样的地方，或是我们其实都不会太糟糕，因为我们的行为这个善的因我们种下了之后，这个乐的果自然而然会在某一天出现。并不是说要鼓励我们要去计较，或者是去鼓励我要怎么样时时刻刻的去计算我们的这个功德， 并不是，而是如果我们怎么去渗透我们自己的心，以善来渗透我们的心的话，其实我们不会轻易的被影响、被干扰。那就像哪怕是像佛陀在世的时候，他也遇到一些就是不理想的事情，但是他完全不受干扰。这样的一种理解，其实跟我们一般上的就是神教的一种理解，就是如果我们就是敬仰神，然后所有的一切都能够变好，或者是如果我们做一切的事情对的话，那我们的生活就会变得无限的美好。其实并不是那么一回事，而是如果当我们让自己的心就是渗透在这个善巧的行为，然后渗透这这个非常纯净的动机的话，这个纯净的动机就是菩提心。无论我们去到哪里，也不会有任何的影响，因为我们会得到我们功德的保护。
My steps, the knives of misery will cut me down, which is the result of this unskillful actions. So here, 43 can also mean, you might be born in the best place to live these days with the right, neighborhood, all of those things surrounded by an abundance of everything. But if the patterns of mind and heart that you are cultivating is negative, then no matter where you turn, it will feel like the knives of misery keep cutting you up.
然后相反的，第43偈则是提到，如果当我们的心就时时刻刻都是沉浸在这个恶行当中的话，其实无论我们处在怎么样的状况，哪怕是就是在非常优越的环境，然后有好人围绕着，但是我们的经历其实就是非常的痛苦的，我们就是置身于一切的巨苦当中，因为罪报皆会现前。
44 and 45 offers two different poetic visions of how, but of course, if we take care of this life in this way, then next life follows naturally. And the two visions is 44 is a poetic vision of the classic description of how one achieves rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land. 45 is a classic description of how one is born into the hell realms. But here, right, when Shantideva offers these two scenarios, are we going to be constantly born in Amitabha's Pure Land right now in this body on this earth? Or are we going to be constantly born in the hell realms? Mind is inclined towards dharma, or we are under the power of confusion and we keep creating misery and suffering.
然后第44到45偈则是两个非常就比较诗意的一个展望。那就是如果我们好好照顾我们这一辈子的话，那接下来我们下一辈子其实也会过得非常理想。那44偈最主要是陈述，就是说是怎么样的一个因缘，然后就升到就是阿弥陀佛的净土当中。 然后45忌则是，如果我们不好好照顾自己的业，然后不断的就是去造作恶业的话，那我们就会置身于地狱当中。那现在就是说，我们怎么样让自己恒常时时刻刻都能够升到当下的这一个状态，当下的这个身心状态，我们怎么样时时刻刻能够生在净土当中？所以我们就要好好的去照顾好我们的心念，我们的心如果是善的，我们造作的业如果是好的，我们得到的一个经验，我们所带来的经验也就会是乐的。然后相反也如此，如果我们的心时时处在一个恶念当中，我们所造作的一个业也是不善巧的话，那我们的经验也就是时时刻刻如同置身于地狱当中。
So the vision offered in verse 44, through virtue, right, through infusing your mind and your heart in skillful actions, and committed to actualizing the two bodhicittas, then if you have that, then you can just rest within the cool heart of a fragrance spreading lotus. This is the description of how beings are reborn in Amitabha's Pure Land. It says that you will find yourself inside a very comfortable lotus flower. And when the time is right, the lotus flower would just unfold. And then you will emerge from the lotus flower. And as you are in this lotus flower, you will hear Amitabha's teachings. And so it says, some people, their lotus opens faster. Some people, the lotus takes longer to open. This is all about, what kind of karma we carry as we are born into Amitabha's Pure Land. Then, even if the lotus is not open, nurtured by Amitabha's voice, Amitabha's speaking of the Dharma, slowly, slowly, this lotus, petal by petal, it will unfold, it will open. And then from the lotus open in the sage's light in supreme form, I will arise. Then not only can you hear Amitabha, you perceive Amitabha's, which Amitabha means boundless light. That light in supreme form you will arise to dwell as the Buddha's heir, as successor to Amitabha, in the presence of all Buddhas. So that is one vision offered. If we keep bodhicitta in heart, then right now, right here, every moment is rebirth into Amitabha's Pure Land.
然后就是在这一个进一步的解释第44忌，就是说透过我们的功德，透过我们愿意去不断的去圆满这个两种菩提心，我们就是如同置身于这个大莲藏当中，就是这个莲花，就在这个阿弥陀经里面就会形容，就是说，就是这个行者就会生在这个莲花当中。然后生在莲花当中，当时间到的时候，然后这一个莲叶就是这个花瓣就会张开，然后自己就会浮现。那当自己在这个莲花当中的时候，是可以听到阿弥陀佛在说法，然后听到这个就除了听到阿弥陀佛在说法，它的这个叶子。就这个花瓣能够开得比较快还是比较慢，都跟自身所带的业有关系。然后除了听到阿弥陀佛的声音以外，然后也能够就是当这个莲花开之后，就也能够看到阿弥陀佛。所以在这样的一种情况下，然后就也能够成为阿弥陀佛的继承者。所以就是如果我们恒常把菩提心放在心中，那我们时时刻刻都如同置身于阿弥陀佛净土。
Otherwise, the alternative is the other one, which is from moment to moment, we are reborn in the hell realms. So 45, it says, because of the wages of my sin, the result of my unskillful actions, right? The negativity that I have created, then my skin completely flayed, I shall be utterly brought low by the creatures of the Lord of Death, who on my body pour a liquid bronze, all melted in the dreadful blaze, and pierced by burning swords and knives, my flesh, dismembered in 100 parts, will fall upon the white-hot iron ground. That's the other scenario. So basically Shantideva says, choose Amitabha's Pure Land right now, right here.
所以接下来就是45偈，那就是说一个相反的一个景象，就是说，因为我们就不断的造作恶业，所以到最后我们就是不断的承受这个研磨或者是狱卒的这个折磨，然后就剥皮，然后就溶骨，然后就淋在我们的皮肤上面，然后就尖刺尖毛，然后刺伤我们的身肉。所以在这一边，那我们都是时时刻刻的恒常就置身于这样的一种地狱的境界里面，只因为我们过去所造作过的恶业。所以吉天菩萨在这一边就是提醒我们选择就是阿弥陀佛净土。那现在当下我们就做出这样的一个选择。
46, the first two lines summarizes this section. The next two lines introduces us to the next factor, which is the factor of determination or self-confidence.
第46偈前两句就是作为一个总结，这一段的总结，然后接下来的两句则是进一步的去介绍下一个特质，也就是坚定的这个特质的一个简介。
So first two lines of 46, it says, therefore I will aspire towards virtue, towards skillful actions, and steep myself in it with great devotion. Be devoted to waking up, be devoted to the actualization of the two bodhicittas. Constantly make aspirations to actualize the two bodhicittas.
所以前面两句就是说，我们不断的就是去许下这样的一个愿，发出这样的一个誓愿，然后我们要圆满这个菩提心，我们要就是时时刻刻为了觉醒而努力。所以
to be inspired by that, to be encouraged by that.
然后如果我们要能够被深受启发的话
And then with that, now we can use, so the next two lines it says, with the method stated in the Vajradwaja, I will train in confident assurance.
然后接下来两句就是皈依金刚床，然后行善修自信。
This Vajradwaja is referring to a bodhisattva that turns up in the Avatamsaka Sutra. There, this bodhisattva, that section that involves this bodhisattva, Vajradwaja, is on the topic of determination, which is the next factor. Determination.
这边金刚床就是在这位菩萨是一位菩萨的名字，然后是出现在华严经当中，然后最主要陈述的是在一个 谈论到就是坚持这样的一个主题中，然后出现的一位菩萨。
So, any questions or comments for what we have covered today?
好，现在是问答时间。
And then the 47 to 62, there will be some kind of imagery of the Bodhisattva as a great warrior, which is brave, which is determined, no matter how strong the enemies, you will overcome. So there's some of that in that next section.
然后像接下来的47到62偈，这个会有很多就是描绘菩萨就作为一个勇士的这样的一种陈述。然后接下来下面的这一段会有这样的谈论。
The first two verses of the next section on determination, there's I feel a very interesting kind of advice, certain unskillful mental patterns and habits that if we don't pay attention to it, we will find ourselves in this loop that we constantly reinforce a certain unhelpful, harmful mindset, habits.
那接下来的前2季，然后卢博士觉得就是非常有意思的，它着重在就是我们所培养的一些不善巧的这样的一种模式，如果我们不小心的话，我们就持续沉沦在这样的一种模式当中，这样的一种具有伤害性的模式当中。
Anyway, today we will end here then. And for those of you who are also participating in the Shravasti meditation class, that is Thursday, 7:30 to 9, usually to about 9:15, 9:30. That's only on Zoom, as well as I think there's some YouTube live streaming. Then those of you who are participating in Drigong Dhammakirti Sangha tomorrow, 7 to 9, and those of you who are local, we will meet at the temple tomorrow. So anyway, now we do dedication of Bodhicitta. Translators can just briefly translate, because if you're translating, then probably it's not for people who are local here to go to the temple.
就是预告了一些就是在那个尼泊士的佛法中心的一些活动而已。然后现在我们来回向。
Chanchu sem chorim purche ma ge pa nam ge gyuji 개바냠바 메바야 고네 공두 배월쇼. Thank you, and we'll see you on Saturday. Yeah, we'll continue on Saturday.
Thank you.
Gracias, Antonio.
Bye bye.
Happy birthday, Waiting.
Happy birthday, Waiting.
Happy birthday. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.